Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Road to the Apocalypse, where we hop in the car and drive down the road to see what exactly is on the development roadmap. And I've got the roadmap pulled up, deadlinger.com. Just click the roadmap picture there on the front page, and you can come look at this too. So we're still looking under the planned survivor gameplay aspects. And today we're going to just touch on the melee combat. I have to admit that today, whatever day this is, the 29th of January, 2014, as a matter of fact, I watched a video by a gentleman who was doing some like a review on the alpha. And that's what he called it. He called it a review on the alpha system, and specifically had some very valid concerns about melee. But I say valid only in the sense that, you could see the issue. He was very disappointed in the state of the alpha gameplay, and I actually kind of talked to a gentleman about this briefly, just more of an exchange, a couple of comments back and forth, not like a discussion. But the state of the gameplay, like when developers let you purchase into the alpha program, and there are a lot of folks who really think that this should be a working playable game, and it's not. When you get led into the alpha, quote unquote, this early, really you're just having that chance to kind of take a peek behind the doors and watch the development process. And so this particular gentleman, when he was talking about how terrible the melee combat was, specifically the melee combat, which is why I bring it up, he was saying how disappointed he was in the state of the alpha, and that it was the worst underdeveloped alpha he had ever played in. Okay, that could be, but you got to take a look and think about, well, where is the game going? So I understand what they put out there for you to buy into was at this level for you. And I'm probably glad I didn't buy into it at that time either, because I'd be like, wow, I just wasted $20. But still, buying into it now, people are still going to complain, oh, melee combat sucks. But it's an alpha. That's exactly what that means. And so by looking at the roadmap really kind of helps clarify where they're at, why it might suck, and then kind of where they plan to go with it. All right. So, let's talk about that. That's really why I want to dissect the roadmap. The game is an alpha. Now, it would be one thing if I came at you saying, hey, all of these systems are 60, 70% in place, and they were terrible. That'd be one thing, talking about pre-development. Especially, you got to consider there's people who buy, just go read like the electronic art forums. Go to Battlefield 4, YouTube Battlefield 4, and you're going to find so many folks complaining about netcode and all kinds of stuff, hitboxes. And that's a game that was released, supposedly finished, and costs a whole lot of money, right? So we're going to compare. They got a melee, they got a knife system and a counterattack system, right? And people complain about it. So we can kind of say, hey, wait, people are going to say, well, you can't compare those two games. One's a first-person shooter. Well, these kind of both have first-person shooter elements, and one is clearly in alpha, and another one is launched and released, okay? So let's look at melee combat currently as it stands, okay? The person who reviewed that I saw today, he was talking about it from the point of view of the Deadlinger just hitting the Steam store for the first time, and that probably was like build 9 or 10. Yeah, you'll quote me. I'm probably wrong because I don't remember exactly. I'm looking at it from build 12, and they added some stuff into build 12 specifically for melee combat, and it still has issues. All right, it's not perfect, but it has some really cool ideas, such as the swinging your weapon and hitting multiple targets. That's pretty good. Not a whole lot of games do that. A lot of games, you focus in on one guy, one target, and that's what you're attacking. Now, what we have coming out in the market are a lot of these kind of like free action games. Like Age of Conan was like one of the very first ones I say one of the first ones. I could be wrong, but for me, it was one of the first ones I knew of that really went on this action combat where you could, kind of swing your weapon and it could hit multiple enemies at once. And that was a big departure from, say, EverQuest 2, which I also played at the time, which you lock onto one target and you specifically had to use area of effect spells, but a single weapon would hit a single target even though they were all stacked on top of each other. So as that kind of comes more into play, we're seeing something like that here. And that is really, really cool. I don't think people understand how important that will be as you go in and you start fighting the hordes, the large group of zombies. When you can take that sledgehammer, or, as I have yet to find, the holy grail of melee weapons, the katana, you can hit these multiple targets, and if you're lucky, kill them in one swipe. So they're really kind of putting it up into place where you can kind of feel like, hey, I'm good. I'm fighting my way through stuff. And it's coming. And it's there. The thing is, currently, even though the system's there, it still feels kind of rough at times. Like I can still kind of swing, and a lot of times it just feels like I'm missing, or I can't. It's hard to judge how close I need to be. How close do I need to be with a long weapon, short weapon? But it's getting better. I say it's getting better because I can only compare my gameplay to gameplay footage I've seen of older builds, and I think it's gotten better. I haven't got to experience it, so when build 13 comes, or the next time that they include more melee options, I'll be able to make a better assessment of that. How much better is melee combat? So I have high hopes. Now, why did I bring up Battlefield 4 and their melee system? I brought it up simply because, when we talk about alpha games and the state of how terrible alpha games are because it's early development, well, I just want to take that against a polished game that a lot of folks had high hopes for. It was really built up, and then they brought out their melee system, which is not designed for mass combat per se, but really let's kind of look at the similarities. Now, with the Dead Linger, you have the potential for facing a whole lot of creatures kind of one-on-one. In Battlefield 4, it kind of goes back to like a one-on-one system. You rarely are ever going to find like 6 guys standing right next to each other and you need to take your knife and swing and hit all 6 people. That's rare. But they have terrible, I say terrible, it's an opinion. Okay, this is an opinion. For me, they have terrible hitbox registering with the knife. Like, it's amazing. I do get some knife kills, but sometimes I can run up to somebody and swipe them, and then they turn, and as my third swipe finally registers, they get the counter kill. Because the hitbox registration lag and netcode really make it difficult sometimes to get melee kills in that game. It can be done. You can do it with blowtorches and stuff, but it's difficult. Now, you take that back to the Dead Linger, which is an alpha state, and it's almost on par with Battlefield 4 as far as the hitbox and registering your melee strikes. It's crazy. So, even though people can look at the alpha build and say how terrible it is, certain aspects can be compared to games that are released and are in a full-on release structure if you want to look at terms of playability. And Dead Linger, even in its 40% state, according to this, 40% state with its issues, is playable. That doesn't make it exciting, I'll admit that, because I want to see their extra stuff about deflecting and blocking and throw in ninjutsu and kung fu. That will make it so interesting to kind of see where they take this. But in its current state, it is playable. Might not be the most exciting, but works. So let's talk about melee weapons then. That's part of the fun, is what are you going to kill these things with? You can punch them, but that takes forever. And while you're punching it, they're busy biting you. And that sucks because it's hard to gauge the distance that you need to strike to be safe. Because I have fought with sledgehammers, crowbars, baseball bats. I mean, they have all kinds of stuff. I haven't tried a frying pan. I have found some things I could use that I just thought, no, that's kind of stupid. But sledgehammer and the fireman's axe, for me, have been the most effective melee weapons so far. So there's a lot of things you can pick up and put in your hands and use, but the problem is a lot of those are short ranged and you got to get real close or sneak up behind them, but it's really, really hard to judge right now how close you need to be. It really is kind of a swing and a miss. But when you take like your sledgehammer or something that would appear to have kind of a long range, you can actually see the effects of range. Some of these you actually can be a little far back and swing, and you have a really good chance of hitting. And it would be nice if there was just a better way to gauge that. It would help a lot. And I'm not quite sure what you need to do for that to help gauge that. And I know that's something that they're working on is to continue to work on the melee system. And I will say this, though. I have yet to find a katana. I have looked everywhere. That is such a rare spawn, but I haven't even seen it in a YouTube video. I think I've seen a guy run around with one, but I didn't. He was like building. I can't remember where I saw that, but I haven't actually seen anybody really go out with a katana and just start slicing through stuff. And I'm still looking for one. So if you kind of know which house types to look in or where a katana kind of sometimes spawn, let me know, because I really want to go find one. That's one of the achievements I'm working on. So I got my fireman axe achievement. I unlocked that. Bing. No, there's no achievement system in the game yet. That's just my personal glory. You know, I wish I had a little sound. I could just hit the button and bing, achievement unlocked. Fireman axe. But I'm looking for a katana where I could just, bing, achievement unlocked, katana. So don't dismiss it yet. If you decide to buy into the game early, understand it's got its issues. But when you dissect the roadmap, see what they have, where they're going, it comes together. It starts to make sense why it is the way it is and what you have to look forward to. So that $20, like, look, if you come up here, currently they say their game is 30% completed. We have another build coming that might bump it up a little bit. So $20 gets you a 30% completed game. I know that just sounds crazy. However, that's why I bought in now. Pay my $20, and now I'm going to get to watch the progress from 30% up to 100% when they decide to release. And I've already paid for all that. And I get to enjoy all the bumps along the way. So I'm not telling you have to buy it. That's your decision. If you like the bumps, cool. If you don't like the bumps, just wait. I'm okay. I'll roll with the bumps. So enjoy the roadmap. We'll talk more coming up. We'll be talking about gathering wood, campfires, which is one of my favorite topics because and cooking. I should almost do 2 tonight. Record this one, post it, and then do gathering wood and campfires next. So thank you so much, though, for watching. Gotta save something for later on. We will talk again. Have a great night, everybody.